Welcome to DT Madness, Chronicles from the Third Life, episode 97, July 7th, 2024. So glad you can make it. I'm sitting here in the nook with the Peru coffee, medium roast. Got to go back and get some more today from Hannah's Coffee House. For those of you who are local around town, Hannah's will be opening up a new spot in Boiling Springs, NC, sometime this fall. Um, I might actually finally get to cut a ribbon, which, using the giant scissors was one of the reasons why I decided to run for mayor. But I bring up the coffee because I don't have it in my usual, what is that brand called? What's the good brand of mugs and coolers? Why can't I remember that? You know what I'm talking about. You're all saying it out loud right now, but I can't remember the main brand, the one that's so good. But I don't have it back here, and so I've just got it in my standard mug. This is the standard red mug that Jenny Cartier made maybe a long time ago, and but the problem is that it gets colder that way. I don't really like my coffee to be medium lukewarm or anything like that, and so I'm gonna have to take some sips. But the problem with that is for doing a podcast is that I'm kind of a I'm kind of a swisher. Um, I like to I like to get it on the back. I like to get the coffee on the back of my tongue. I don't know if that's the bitter. I think when I was younger, they taught me that that was the bitter taste buds. I don't know if that's still the science behind it, um, but I enjoy that quite a bit. And so I'll try not to. I'll try to just down this mug as fast as I can, and maybe that's a new sound effect. But I'm I typically would have my green tea and ginger this morning, but I'm trying to go walk here after the podcast. I went yesterday and did the what about 4 mile loop because I got to get back into the thing, but it's so hot, it's so hot, and I thought I was going to beat the heat yesterday, and yeah, I didn't because it was already there, and so I had the pretty good heat headache there for the rest of the morning and a little bit, but whatever. I think I got it today because it's cloudier and not as hot, so I think maybe I'll be fine, but we'll find out. That isn't even on the list. You're welcome for a little bonus coffee swish tutorial. Um, but yeah, we visited. Can't we're in college tour season with my daughter who is a rising senior. We have the senior portrait coming up this week to get her picture made with all the. I don't know if it's cap and gown and whatever. If it's just that for us, we do a little for the girls. It's a black dress with some pearls and whatever. The guys put their tuxedo suit on. Um, but we visited Campbell. Furman has kind of been our leader. We did Wofford, not so keen on it. UNCW, Wilmington, not keen on it. Elon was really nice, but not really a fit. And so Furman has kind of been the running leader. But this week we visited Campbell, and yeah, it was one of those where, dang, now we've got a decision to make. And it's not the same. There are a lot of differences between the two. Um, Furman is more prestigious if you go with things like that. It would definitely be more rigorous. It's more beautiful in terms of the campus, actual like scenery and stuff like that. but then, some similarities. The sizes are about the same. I think Furman's probably a little bit smaller. Um, what she's interested in is chemistry and pharmacy, perhaps, and Campbell has a pharmacy school, and so she'd be able to kind of dive right into that as well as Campbell will take all of her transfer credits, and she's going to end up with an associate's degree, and Furman won't. And so, instead of entering as a junior with grad school and probably 4 years of grad school on the horizon, she'd probably still enter as a sophomore at Furman because of all of her AP credits. AP scores come out tomorrow, by the way. But yeah, so there's like practical but living arrangements. There's a I call it Lubert. I don't know if y'all watch iCarly. Lubert, but anyway, it's called Luby, and Luby is a residence where the students they have their own room. They share a bathroom with one other person, but the suite is just one and one, high ceilings. I mean, it's not anywhere though. Like Campbell's not anywhere, and I'm saying that as the mayor of Boiling Springs, North Carolina. Like, yeah, we've got more things than I don't know. Anyway, it's tough though. We keep going back and forth, and so we're going to try to keep a tally as we go ahead and see. On any given day, where are we? We leaning purple for Furman? Are we leaning orange for Campbell? The Paladins versus the Camels. Um, but yeah, while I was there, I was looking up the Bowie's Creek budget because on the tour, our tour guide Cody, he told us that the fire trucks that are in town on Campbell's campus are orange and black. They're painted orange and black for campus colors, and I got to thinking about that because I know that Gardner Webb has requested us to put the bulldog and things like that on our fire trucks. Um, but the issue is, well, first of all, I couldn't find Bowie's Creek budget because Bowie's Creek isn't really a thing. Bowie's Creek is only Campbell, and so it isn't an incorporated town or anything like that. It is only Campbell. Lillington is the town, I guess, that Campbell is at least closest to. I'm not remembering the name of the county at the top of my head, but I was searching all that up because I've been working. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I've been working with the mayor of Elon some and trying to contact as many small town college mayors as I can. I emailed Wingate this past week as well as Boone, even though Boone's about 20,000 people versus 5,000 in these other towns, to see how their universities contribute to the town budget because Gardner Webb doesn't contribute to ours at all, like at all. They don't have to pay taxes because they're nonprofit, and that's fine. But what many universities, in fact, all universities so far that I've contacted and have found out that they offer a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes, some type of supplement to go and help support the budget of the local town that they're a part of towards police and fire protection. Um, and so, yeah, I'm interested. Lillington or whichever the town is, Campbell does give a some sum of money to their budget. But yeah, we listened to a playlist. It's quite the trip. Like one of the differences, one of the pros and cons, or what have you, is that Furman for us is about a little over an hour away, um, and in the midst of some types of civilization, whereas Campbell is 3.5 hours away from here and really not close to very much at all. I mean, it's 45 minutes from Raleigh, maybe an hour and a half from Wilmington, Fuquay Arena. I don't know what's there. But so we took off. We took off early in the morning. Our tour was at 11 a.m. and we left out of here at about 6:30 and just cruised. Everybody was rolling. I mean, it was I don't even know what day it was, but man, it was July 3rd, so traffic was moving, and we made it. And we got there at 10, really about 9:40, and the people were so accommodating. There wasn't a huge demand for tours that day, and so They went ahead and set us up, and we got out there and got there early and got out early. And then, but the playlist that we had made on the way, Sydney entitled it, and she had made it, and it was called "Holla," and you got to say it like that. You can't just say "Holla," you know, "Holla." Um, Speaking of playlists, Sam, I love making good playlists, and Apple made most of this for me, but I curated it some. Like they come up with the Apple favorites each week, Tuesdays, and so when they come up with a really good one, I'm just adding them all to a big, huge list, and then taking out a few here and there. And Sam said that playlist took him through a 6 hour shift yesterday, and he didn't miss a beat. Like he didn't have to skip a single one. And that's pretty strong. That's pretty strong encouragement for a playlist. Our new challenge, Sam and I, we come up with different challenges for playlists. We did some alphabetical order ones one time. Now we're going to do a Grateful Dead, all Grateful Dead, your favorites. You can do 15 songs plus two. So, we two for the encore, but so 17. Um, I know you were really interested in that. But anyway, back to Holla. And so Sydney had made it for our 4th of July festivities, but we listened to it on the way to um, Campbell, and Eric Church, the song that I know by him, which is Springsteen, and the live version is the best one. The live version is the best one where he gets to talking about, I remember the way the grass smelt down on the lawn there in Charlotte, North Carolina. He gets to talking like that, and it's just good. It's a great song, man. It's a great song. And in the song, he's singing. Where is he? Chasing Chattanooga, Tennessee. And of course, the song, if you know the song, and if you don't, I'll tell you, the song he's singing, and he's like, it's a July Saturday night, and that's what it says in the song. But in Chattanooga, obviously in October, he changes the lyrics at the end to an October Tuesday night, and the crowd goes wild. And I just love that kind of thing. I love that kind of thing, like because we're always suckers for it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, if it's Fish singing or if it's Dave Matthews like singing about could I have been, lost somewhere, and if he says lost somewhere at Deer Creek and you're there, they yeah, and that's just it's really awesome, and it's interesting to me that we love to be we love to be reminded of this very moment. I think that's really it. I do. I think that's really it. Like we love the song and we know that we're here, but when you know that we're here, like it's all this huge collective. This is right now. We're here in Chattanooga on an October Tuesday night. The crowd goes wild. I love that. Anyway, it's a good playlist. But she did make it for the 4th of July, and 4th of July is a big holiday for our family. Recently, we've been past several years. We've been going up to my sister's house in Bellwood, and they've got a huge farm. They got a huge farm spread and big fields, and so the kids are able to ride four wheelers and play all the games and all this kind of stuff. Um, and they do the fireworks, and my mom makes homemade vanilla ice cream, which is nummy is the word that we use. But this it was tough. It was tough for me. I mentioned I think maybe on the podcast last week, maybe I don't know that a lot of people had tried to offer me sympathy for Father's Day, but that wasn't really a thing for me. But I really did get sad on the 4th of July because I don't know. Last year, I just sat with my dad at the house so my mom could go up, and we watched Bones. I'm pretty sure over and over and over. And 2 years ago was the time that he was able to go up, and then he didn't stay too long, and I drove him home in the car, and we listened to some old classic gospel. We listened to "My Name Is Lazarus," which was a that's the gate. It's the Gaithers. It's not the Gaithers to actually sing it, but it's on their gospel album. Um, and that was a like okay, yeah, because we both knew the score at that time. And so this year I was sitting out under the tent in the shade outside, away from the chaos and the madness of the other things that were going on. And my dad would have been sitting right out there with me. And I got to thinking, like, all these years, have I been sitting out there with him, or has he been sitting out there with me? Because I was just kind of out there solo this time, in part because it was 100 million degrees. Um, but there is this, the enigma, I guess, of me, or really is probably a really unfairness on my part, where in certain circumstances, when people don't ask me things about me and my family, it's frustrating to me. But in this case, I didn't want to go in there because I didn't want people to ask me about things. And yeah, DT madness. Not glad about those things. I just am aware of them. But it was a good time, man. It was a good time. I didn't stay for the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. I came home and finished, or began to finish reading up the book that I'll talk about just in a second. I went on a drive at some point this past week with Isaac. He's a really good driver, and we take Stella Blue around. It's our 2012, 2011 Toyota Camry. It's the training car for all the kids. Now it's Isaac's turn. Thing still runs like a it just runs like a dream. It's been through it. Um, he had to work his way up. Apparently, apparently. Have y'all seen that Instagram? That kid. Uh, I'm not allowed. Anyway, um, but apparently I've developed this reputation as being the one that you don't want to drive with, and that you better go drive with mom, because if you drive with dad, you'll be all stressed out. And I don't know about all that now. I just like to hang on to that handle up on the side. It's not like I'm clutching it most of the time. But anyway, Isaac worked his way up, and got comfortable enough and said, "Okay, all right, Dad, you can go with us now. You can go with me now." And he took me on his little loop. He drives about a 40-minute loop. His turns are like butter. They're way better than mine. He gets frustrated at other drivers, as you will. But he's a really good driver. And I was just rolling with the windows down, no radio on. He does not ready for all the different distractions quite yet. He's just brand new. But I have to be honest. I got a little emotional with my last young driver, um, driving his old man around. That was pretty good stuff. The kids today, though, they don't do the 10-2. They do 9-3, and it's just evidence of how things are just changing. Kids today, man. Apparently, if you uh, do 10-2, then the airbag will knock your fists back into your face, and so they teach 9-3, so as to avoid such as that. I told Isaac I would just be able to move my hands real fast, so I think I'm going to stick with 10-2. Although I tried to show him the gangster lean, like Will Smith, rolling through the, what is it, 2 miles an hour, so everybody sees you. Okay, I guess I'm gonna say some things. Here we are. I've delayed it for 18 minutes, but I guess I'm gonna say some things. I predicted last week that maybe by this time, Joe Biden would no longer be the nominee. He's still hanging on. It can't be much longer. Yeah, it can't be much longer. The interview was not reassuring. Um, Donors are beginning to fall away. 5 House members now. Um, the 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 person that gives too much credit, maybe, or has too much faith in the system, that's a part of me wants to think that maybe meanwhile in the background they're just trying to shore up how all this thing's going to work. Hopefully somebody's in charge of that. Um, but yeah, I can't imagine that this week is going to go it's going to go any longer than that. And then I don't know what happens after that. I think the hope is that maybe everybody will just rally around Vice President Harris, and that they'll just be able to smoothly go on. But I don't know if that's best. I don't know if that's the way that it will go, because there will be people who will lay claim to the mantle of what's next. It's going to be really really interesting. Uh, the Supreme Court cases, like the immunity case, was a huge one, but the entire federal administration is going to be restructured after some of these court cases. The Chevron case, um, it's the biggest reorganization of government in 90 years, I read. It's going to fundamentally change the way I teach AP government, and the way law schools teach administrative law. Like, huge, huge consequences coming out of this year's Supreme Court. Um, and so, election consequences are real. Um, yeah, we'll see how all that goes. I don't know. I keep wrestling with my responsibility to be on social media, Facebook in particular, because Facebook is where my mayoral constituents are. Every time I sneak back on there to see what's going on, though, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think so. But I do think about like what my role is as a small town elected official. As a teacher. Our mayor is I'm sorry, our candidate for governor. We have the Democrat candidate is Josh Stein, who has been the attorney general, and the lieutenant governor, who is Mark Robinson. And Mark Robinson is a firebrand. He's probably more MAGA than Trump is, honestly. And he's said a lot of wild things. Yeah, said a lot of wild things. Like, yeah, and lately he said that some people need killing. And he gives this rant. He's talking about World War II some, and how we used to know what was right and wrong, and we knew that we needed to go and kill the Japanese, and we knew we needed to kill the Nazis, and liberals are going to get mad, but you know what? Some people need killing. And the wild thing is that he's saying this in a church. Like, the background to all of this is as though he's delivering the sermon. He is, and there's a cross in the back. Um, and the statements are, I don't know what adjective to give them. I I just can't imagine. I can't imagine how someone would vote for this guy. I don't. You don't have to vote for the other guy. That's fine. Just leave it blank or vote for the third person. I don't know. But the phrase that he mentions in this rant, Mark Robinson, is he says to these church folks, like, "Don't you feel it slipping away?" And that's it. That's the crux there. You know, it 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 does feel like it's slipping away to traditional. I don't know, old school traditional views. Maybe I don't know how to package it, but things are changing, and knowledge is evolving, and and there's this message to people that your way of life that you value so much is slipping away, and so you better fight for it. You better fight for it. Some people need killing. You better plant your flag, and you better build your wall, and you better fight, because your value system, your beliefs, and your existential beliefs are under serious attack. And in some cases, I will agree to that. But this is presented now as one package, that you can't just discount Mark Robinson because he's an R. And if I vote for a Democrat, or if I somehow think that we should raise taxes on rich people, then that leads me to being in line with the Democrats, which means I'm a communist, which means that I want to attack the church, and I want to take God out of the classroom or whatever. And if I side with the Republican notion, then the Democrat side is going to attack me as whatever, racist or sexist or autocrat, something like this. Like, both sides are rallying so much so that it's all one package, and it's like people don't feel the freedom, maybe see the freedom to think for themselves, and issue after issue, and take these very complicated issues one at a time. uh, because somewhere along the way we stopped with this idea of compromise, like completely. Um, but yeah, it's increasingly existential. I don't know how we work our way out of it with the leaders that we currently have. But I would say that one way that you can distract yourselves is by reading the latest Oprah Book Club book, and it's called Familiaris. I highly recommend reading Edgar Saltell first, which is a 2008 Oprah pick. I mentioned it last week. It's it's Shakespearean, but it's fantastic in its own right. And if it's 4 stars or 4.5 stars, Familiaris is whatever stars you want to give. It's the best book I've ever read, and I'll say it. I'll say it. It's the best experience. It's art. It combines like elements of Patrick Rothfuss. Like there were times where I felt like I was in the Fae realm. It's a beautiful story with historical references, with characters that develop fully. I mean, this work, Familiaris, is 970 pages, almost 1,000 pages, and there are references to like a storyline will be introduced and then it will backfill, and you spend chapters maybe developing the backstory of before the there are nuggets of wisdom. There's adventure. There's emotion. It is written with beautiful language. I told my friend Good that this is the best I've ever read, and he said, "Man, that's a strong claim." And we're both teachers of writing theses and such, and so I wanted to back it up. And if you read it, I hope you like it, but it's really good. It's things like this. It's things I think about. Like when you read a follow-up book with characters that you hate, like you hated the character. The character in the other book was a villain, but now their backstory tries to create understanding. I'm resistant to that. Like I'm resistant to that. I want to continue to hate this person. Don't give me understanding. So I understand going back to Mark Robinson. It's highly understandable why creating these existential lines are so effective, because it's human nature for us to develop in groups and out groups, and the out group is a threat to me, and I don't want your understanding. I don't want that, because that makes me have to work. It requires effort on my part. It requires introspection on my part to recognize what my own flaws are and how others may perceive me if they only saw pieces of the story. It's easier to continue to hate the person than to try and understand. There's the singularis that the guy. I'm going to read a quote from the book, but it won't ruin anything because it's all throughout, and it happens very early on. And like I said, it's 1,000 pages, and so um, I don't even really understand the first part of this. It says, "Carry no water from men who parcel elixir drips," and that's part of it. Is that anyway? I don't want to give anything away really at all. Make commodity for self and family alone. Again, I don't know what that means. I'll have to really think about it and see if it means anything. But this, set your brief life powers toward truer work. Any plot of an hour's perimeter harbors at least one rare dearity. Seek that. Seek only that. Restlessly, irritably, hungrily. Seek. With bursting expectation, with killing fatigue. Seek. Through May's torrents, through August's heat, through January's snow, seek. Seek when heavy booted, seek when night capped. Seek in day work and idle hour. Leave the pumpkin acre to another, you chump, you dunce, you cross-eyed, sap-headed, wonder-gutted ninny. Seek, seek, seek the singularism. And that's profound to me. Whatever your dearity is, your rare dearity that you find, Yours will be different than mine, you know. And I've thought about, like, I've got the YouTube now up over 4,000 downloads, man. It's just crazy. I know that's nothing, but for an old DT Madness here, sitting in the old blue chair with the nook, um, it's pretty cool. And now I've got access to a YouTube channel because I had to create it. And Podbean is telling me if I'm not using video, I don't know, y'all. I might go. I might create my own YouTube TV channel and talk about a little bit of different stuff. Maybe report on my views on the political situation. Maybe report on my views of education. Maybe give some local updates about what it's like being a mayor. Um, mm Maybe take some tours. I'd have to come up with the ways to do the effects, the video effects and all that kind of stuff. Um, I don't know who's here for a video YouTube channel. You got to let me know. Churchof6@gmail.com. I'm not a I'm not delusional, or let me rephrase, because you know that I am. I'm not so delusional yet to think that I am prophetic. Understand the life of prophets, especially in Old Testament scriptures, that they usually end up dead and seen as crazy. But I am a teacher, I am a teacher, and one of the things that I really think about, the reason why I wrestle with, do I need to be on Facebook? How vocal should I be? And I'm constrained some in the classroom now by teachers' bills of rights and things like this, or parents' bills of rights, and I'm hesitant to just make open statements. As Jerry says, statements just seem vain at last. But my draw, my dearity maybe, is that I want to present all these different angles. Like, I want to talk about Mark Robinson, but not in a way of you're either with him or you're against him. And don't misunderstand, there are things where you're going to plant your flag, and there are places where I'm going to plant mine. And in often cases, those will not be in the same place. But that's the point. Like, I don't know if it should be Kamala Harris, or what benefits there are to a Trump presidency, if any, and where should we go from here with 80-year-olds running the country, and what about this presidential immunity rating, and why won't Gardner Webb kick in some money to the Boiling Springs town budget, and how do we move forward in education with all the challenges that face us, and how do we break out of in group and out group while maintaining the integrity of our values and our beliefs, yet still entertaining the values and beliefs of others? Like, that's education, right? It doesn't have to be threatening. And so I take it seriously. I really do. And I think for the longest time I've questioned my own self. Like, maybe I just don't have a spine. Maybe I just won't take a side. But I value the prism. I value the variety of angles, and my willingness, ability to try to digest as much as that as I can, and then try to synthesize it, and then present it in ways that are not affronting to different folks, to try to bridge gaps, to try to offer a sense of unity, I think, maybe. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think that's what I was wanted to be, a youth leader, and a preacher man and teacher, now a prominent, podcaster. All right, that's enough of saying things. But like, I mean, look, here's the thing. When my daughter and wife, when Sarah and Sydney got home the other day, I was out there after I was watering the flowers. I was shooting the water hose onto the roof, and in my mind, it was going to cool the house down. I don't know how much water I would have to shoot up there, but so yeah, I'm not so delusional to think that everyone should listen to me. I don't mean it. I don't mean it that way. I'm the guy who sprays water on the roof. You know. Although I did learn that in the summertime, ceiling fans should go counterclockwise, as mine do. But in the winter, you want to change those back to clockwise, because then it will suck the heat up and send it around. We close with this. Like we had this, and this is a part of Familiaris too. I really don't know what I'm going to read next, although I did order a book of short stories by Joy something or another. I kept seeing it on the New York Times, so I got it. I'll let you know. Um, but this book, man, Familiaris, it's top. It's the top for me. And maybe I can do book reviews on my YouTube channel. But towards the end, I don't know. It's 1,000 pages, so somewhere in the last third, there's this sense of longing, the sense of emotion that really struck me. And it was certainly after July 4th that I was reading this, and thinking about my dad and thinking about my family. We got college things going on, and thinking about my will and my desire to be and to be with them, and my own sense of, if I'm not, that I'm letting them down. Like if something were to happen to me, like that's the fear that's rooted in me, is not so much of death as it is letting other people down by creating sorrow, and trials and travails for them while they should be going through these other really important parts of their life. It's true. But what is this longing? We had this debate the other night about sympathy and empathy, and whether or not empathy is a real thing. Like, can you really put yourself in somebody else's shoes? Can you really feel what they're feeling? Like, I mean, like 100%. And 100%, the answer is probably no. Of course, we can't know. Can't know for sure. That's why I love the Thoreau quote. If only we could see for an instant through another's eyes. But sympathy, empathy, whatever you want to call it, there's this longing, right? Like there's this longing when you read a passage like that, or you experience a tender moment with family, or you go driving with your son, and he takes you around. You get a text from your other son about a playlist while he's working in Boone, or your daughter is making brand fresh pasta, trying all that stuff out for the first time, and she's making all the sounds over there. There's this longing to always be together, to always be. And it's more than survival instinct. And I gotta believe that we all feel that in some sense. Like there's this connection that is human, whether you call it sympathy or empathy or whatever. What is this longing? And if we could start at a place like that, a place of common ground where there really isn't an in group and out group, then maybe we can work out from there. Anyway, holla. This is a Church of Six production brought to you by the Bucket of Life, by the rope of relationship, the foundation tower of stone, the wall of belief, the token of hope, the magic rock times one received and one given. Nothing divine is desperate. In order to be, try to never seem. May all your circumstances serve to awaken compassion. And as you go, teach peace. Don't forget to believe, y'all, and be live. Grace and peace, my friends.